Hey, this is Alex here, and I'm here with Nextbit talking to Eric, checking out the Nextbit Robin, probably the most successful crowdfunded smartphone I can think of.
Well, probably the only successful smartphone, crowdfunded smartphone you can think of. There have been a couple, but I think we're the first to actually come to market. So we are looking at some of the final hardware before we go to manufacturing. We will be shipping next month, so this is real. This is not Kickstarter vaporware. So Nextbit was founded by two guys who have been at, oh boy, Google and then Motorola, and then left Motorola, and then went back to Google, and then left, and then went back to Google. Basically, guys who have been in Android since day one. So our CEO, Tom, he was on the original business team for Android. Our CTO, Mike, he was working on power management from Android 1.0 all the way up through Honeycomb. And then our chief design officer, Scott, was SVP of product and design at HTC, all the way up until the M8. So we're a company founded by Android veterans, all of whom had started to see the same thing, which was that we've reached a point in the industry where everything is sort of the same. If you look at phone design, everything either looks like an iPhone or like an old HTC design, and with like some variation or combination thereof. And so it was time for something bold. If we look at what's happening in software and OS, every WWDC, we see Apple announcing all the features that were in Android the previous year. Every Google I/O, you see Google announcing all the features that were in iOS the previous. And so we thought that it wasn't just time to push the industry in terms of design, but also time to push the industry in terms of software and features. So Nextbit has been doing cloud-based features for Android for a couple of years before the launch of Robin, and those were all licensed to either OEMs or to developers.
Now we know about Nextbit, let's talk about the Robin itself.
Sure.
And also talk about the decision to go crowdfunding, because I mean, I know you guys have VC backing as well, right?
Yes.
So it's not like you needed the funds from the campaign to even do this.
Right.
So, with that backing, why did you turn to the community for support?
Well, so two things. One is you said the right word. Why did we turn to the community for support? So Kickstarter has a massive community. Nextbit doesn't. And to have that community out there that's already engaged and be able to reach out to them and find the people in that community who believed that the cloud could be used in new ways, who were kind of sick of the same design in their phone, it was fantastic. Right, you have this huge audience, and inside that audience, there are going to be people who believe in what you're saying, as long as you're saying something worth believing in.
No, I mean, there's been Kickstarter fatigue, there's been vaporware and other Kickstarter issues. What do you think you guys did right that made you successful and different than some other Kickstarters that have promised the moon and not delivered anything? Right?
Well, two things. One, even though this was everybody in the company's first Kickstarter, we all have a lot of experience in phones. Everybody inside the company has worked for one of the OEMs at some point or other in their life. So everybody had a very realistic sense of what we were accomplishing and on what schedule. And I think the other thing is just that a lot of times so with that, when we launched our Kickstarter, we were able to, even though it was on the Nexus 5, we were able to show demos of the product working, doing exactly what we claimed. And then thirdly, I think, it's easy to kickstart hardware that's derivative, but we did something original. And I think that really speaks to people. It gets people's attention. You know, just the way you pull this phone out of your pocket when you're in the store, in the restaurant, whatever, people notice it. They notice that it looks different from all the other phones they've seen, and they say, "What's that? I've never seen that before."
Now let's. Can you grab? There was the Kickstarter exclusive.
Sure.
So I mean, for viewers of this video who don't know, there's actually an exclusive color of the Robin that Kickstarter backers voted on, and unfortunately, you will not be able to purchase this anymore.
Right. So,
but if you can just show us what it looks like, because it's quite nice.
Absolutely. So this is electric, and yeah, this is the crowd selected colorway on from Kickstarter. So you'll notice it's blue instead of green on the caps, and then it's black instead of white in the center. So
now, I mean, is there a chance that maybe other limited edition colors that come out maybe in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, color is such an important part of the product's identity that it's pretty logical that at some point in time we'll have to do more with that. At this point in time, though, we just need to make enough in the colors that we've shown people so far to be able to deliver to all of those backers who've been, you know, very patiently waiting for Robin.
The look and feel and design aesthetic of the Robin is influenced by the geography of where it comes from. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we are not shy about the fact that we are a San Francisco company. So one of the things that you were asking me, Alex, was like, well, why not, why not deeper greens? Why not browns? It's all about the things that we see every day. You don't see bright green in San Francisco. You see a lot of sand, so you see a lot of beige, and you see a lot of blue, and you see a lot of fog. And so these are the types of colors that we chose, right? So if you look up at the sky at night in San Francisco, midnight really is what you see. If you're looking out your window as you wake up, fog and a little bit of green from whatever nearby parks there are what you see. And it's not bright green, it doesn't rain like that. It's just this sort of faded, gentle green, and it's, that's been softened by the fog, and you get that feeling. The same way, the same thing it holds true for, what we did with the home screen. So it's very gentle, and I don't know how easy it is to see, but when you scroll through the home screen, fog actually comes over whatever picture you have. So we wanted to evoke that feeling of San Francisco for all of our people, the same way that the palette here stays in that like nice minty color. And the same way that a lot of the icons are a little softer, a little bit more fun than what you might see from other companies. We just wanted that to keep coming through.
So can you give us a quick tour of the phone's hardware itself? Maybe just point out some of the
Sure, here.
features?
So let me do this with the Mint one. We've got this all prepped up for you. So from the front, it's a 5.2-inch IPS screen, 1080p. It is very bright, but I'm not going to show you that on the camera so that we don't blow out the rest of the phone in the video. There are dual front-facing speakers, so this is not a home button, this is a speaker, and they are stereo, so when you're playing video back, that you actually get a stereo effect. You have your front-facing camera as well as your proximity and light sensors on the front. You'll notice throughout the phone that there's this theme of two circles next to each other. So, for instance, if we switch to the side, the volume keys follow the same theme. And then again on the back, you have the two circles next to each other for the 13-megapixel camera with phase detection, as well as the dual-tone flash. Below it, you see our logo, and there's actually 4 LEDs here. In a second, I'll show you. They'll light up whenever the phone is doing anything with our smart storage solution. So smart storage is our special memory trick, which we can talk about in a second here. On the bottom, there's the USB-C port. There's
USB-C is it 2.0 or 3.0?
It's 3.0. We are shipping with a 2.0 cable that does conform to the full USB-C standards, I will tell you. But the reason we're shipping with the 2.0 cable, as you can see, we have the cable right here, is that allows us to make a very flexible cable. USB 3.0 cables are thicker and more heavily shielded, which means they're not flexible, which isn't really nice when you're charging, right? It's fantastic for fast data transfer, but we think that that's a much more infrequent use case than when you're going to be charging, which you're going to be doing every day.
But isn't there like an issue with rapid charging with... Do you need the USB 3.0 cable to do the...
No, you do not.
Fast? Oh, you don't? Okay.
No.
I wasn't sure about that, so you know more than that than I do. So.
Yes, and this is the rapid charger. So this is our quick charge for the phone.
And is it Qualcomm Quick Charge?
It is Qualcomm Quick Charge 2.0.
Okay. So now another key feature is you do have a fingerprint sensor, and I guess the...
Yes, I was... last slide, I was saving the best for last. So the power key, which is the mint key here, is also a fingerprint sensor. So the way it works is when you press in on the button, the fingerprint sensor becomes active, and then it will unlock the phone.
Now, I mentioned when we spoke before that I've actually had some problems with a phone with a similar fingerprint sensor. The Sony Xperia Z5 has a very thin, and I found that because of the area, it felt like it wasn't reading my finger. It misread more often, and I remember you mentioned there's some differences about how you're doing it that can address those problems.
Right. So there's two main things. One is you'll notice that even though the fingerprint sensor is ever so slightly recessed, that the area around it is flat, which means it's a lot easier for you to get that surface area contact with the fingerprint sensor. There's a concave depression on the Z5 to hold the fingerprint sensor, which kind of prevents as much contact. The other thing we've done is we're shipping with Marshmallow on the phone, so we're able to use Google's new built-in fingerprint sensor training that's part of the out-of-box experience for Marshmallow, and it allows you to take a much larger sampling of the fingerprint in order to get a full scan.
Now, I guess the last hardware question I have before we maybe start talking about some of the storage things is it's running Snapdragon 808.
Yes.
Which, I mean, now it's getting a little bit long in tooth. So how would you address somebody saying, wow, I'm going to buy my 2016 device when this is more widely available, but it's still coming with an SoC that came out almost a year ago?
Sure.
I mean, and for some people, it's not as much, but there will be people who probably will question that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So there's always going to be a difference between those first phones that have the latest and greatest chipset and the rest of the phones, and that difference is going to be hundreds of dollars in price. So we aren't a $600 or $700 phone. We're $399 unlocked, which means that. Yes, we're not going, so we're shipping before the 820 ships, and phones are going to come out after us with the 820, but they're going to be $600 or $700 phones. They're not going to be in the $399 or $350 range. And maybe a year down the road they will be, but by a year down the road, we'll have moved on to a different chipset as well. So it's really about, when you look at a lot of other phones that are in this $399 range, you're looking at phones that often have the Qualcomm 615 or 617 if they have a Qualcomm Snapdragon processor. So we think that the 808 is actually a big step up over a lot of the phones that are out there.
I mean, yeah, from my experience, yes, even something as basic as the ISP for the image sensor.
Right. So, and to that end, we actually had to select an image sensor that would work specifically with the 808. So this is a Samsung image sensor because we wanted phase detection autofocus, and the only way we could get that and get 13 megapixels compatible with the 808 was to go with the Samsung sensor.